Hello friends and welcome back to Oak Creek Conservancy. Today I'm talking about dendrochronology, whatever the heck that is. Curious? Stay tuned. Dendrochronology is the study of tree rings. And you might ask yourself, well, why study tree rings? Why not do something more productive like contemplate your navel? Well, actually, I recently learned that the study of tree rings is very valuable if you know the history of a tree through its rings and what the rings will tell you. You can learn about fires that have occurred, and you can learn about the environment and climate changes, and all of this contributes to good forest management. I'm very fortunate that Oregon State University is in my backyard because it affords me the opportunity to work with the scientists and the different facilities at the university. And one of them that I recently discovered is the Oregon State University Tree Ring Lab. Yes, there actually is a scientific lab to study tree rings, and they do some pretty amazing scientific stuff. I'm going to go through that, but first, let's review a little bit about tree rings. Here's a piece of Douglas fir firewood that's been split. So on the end, you can see the rings, and on the side, you can see the grain of the wood. In this piece of oak, you get a better idea of what the grain looks like. Sometimes the grain is gorgeous, and it's basically the side view of the tree rings. And here we see the tree rings on the end. And normally, to count the rings, a cookie is cut out of a tree, which is essentially a slice of the trunk of the tree. Here's a Douglas fir cookie, and we can see repeating patterns of light and dark. The lighter wood is called early wood, the dark wood is called late wood, and the early wood is deposited in the spring, the late wood in the summer, and then the tree goes dormant. And we can see here, it took 3 years for this tree to grow 1 inch in radius. And if we compare that to a cookie from an oak tree rings are much closer together. The tree grows more slowly. And we can see here, it took about 15 years for the tree to grow 1 inch in radius or 2 inches in diameter. Here is an oak cookie taken from a tree that fell on the Conservancy property after a snowstorm. I sanded it and filled in the cracks with a black epoxy and brought it to the Oregon State Tree Ring Lab so they could finish the job and give me an actual date. The process they use is quite amazing, highly scientific, and here it is described by lab co-director Dr. Andrew Merschel.
This is a microscope that moves across the piece. We basically just rotate this, and then we're able to measure each annual ring on a sample to high precision. It goes to the thousandth of a millimeter. We probably don't need that level of precision, but any sample we date, we measure every single ring. And then if you have a master chronology of what ring widths are over time, you can take those measurements and match them up like a barcode. So that's how we know when we have a dead piece of wood or something that's been dead for a long time. You measure the rings on it, it matches up with that master chronology, and then you're able to date things in trees to their exact year. So if we want the exact year of an establishment date, of a drought or a fire, that's why we cross-date things and do it this process. So, and then we ran it by our oak chronologies, and this is the output for this tree. And so the outermost ring is dated as 2016 that Zoe could see, and then it's saying if you shift it 0 years, that is the most correct dating for that segment. So there's all sorts of possible matches. But when you see them all line up along 0 from 2016 to 1830, you know that can't be by chance.
And after the Tree Ring Lab applied all of their scientific principles and machinery, they dated my cookie to the year 1755, which is amazing. Although this is kind of a young cookie compared to some of the samples that they see at the lab.
So this goes to 1249.
And you're pretty sure that that's...
It's stated correct.
It is, yeah, it's precise. Mm-hmm. That's just amazing.
I think our other chronologies go to like 14 something in the Coast Range, and then now we have the 1200s.
And on that same ancient cookie, a fire scar from the year 1271. It's simply mind-boggling. All right, now that my cookie is dated, I'm going to add some other important dates like 1815, the birth year of my double great grandfather, 1865, the end of the Civil War, 1939, the year that Girl Scout Thin Mint cookies were invented. And I'll probably make a coffee table. I'll be sure to make a video. Now you know as much about dendrochronology as I do, which isn't very much. But if you're at a party and the conversation slows down a little bit, you can pick up the slack and talk about dendrochronology. Hope you enjoyed it. Please like and share. See you next time.